The woman checked her watch for what must have been the 100th time in 30 minutes. Now the flight to Paris was scheduled to depart in 20 minutes, and she still hadn't arrived at the airport. She just couldn't leave him. Martha had seen the old man struggling to carry his 2 suitcases up the escalator, and she offered to help him. Little did she know he would need much more than that. It had been 30 years since she'd left home, but something told her this was the most important flight she'd ever taken. Watch till the end to find out why. It was going to be a long journey from Arizona to Paris, and Martha wanted to get some work done during the flight. So she decided to pay for business class. As soon as she got to the airport, though, everything started to go wrong. First, she realized she'd forgotten her charger, and now she was worried she wouldn't make her flight. Finally, she found the gate only to realize it was a 15-minute walk from where she was. Martha was already very stressed when suddenly she saw an old man struggling to carry his 2 big suitcases up the escalator. Even though Martha was already late, she stopped to help him. "Thank you, my dear," said the old man. "I'm afraid I've lost my strength after so many years of traveling." He smiled at Martha, but she could tell he was serious. "Where are you headed, sir?" she asked. "To Paris," he replied. "And you?" Same, Martha answered. "And you're going alone?" he asked. "Yes," she replied, realizing he was also alone. Martha thought about how difficult it would be for the elderly man to handle his luggage by himself, especially because they were flying to another country. Just then, Martha's phone vibrated. It was a message from the airline letting her know the flight to Paris was boarding. The old man looked at her and said, "My dear, if you're late, it won't be my fault. I'm sorry." Martha smiled and said, "Don't worry, I'll make it. I have a whole row to myself in business class. There's plenty of room for both of us." The old man's face lit up. "Oh, thank you. You're a lifesaver." "How can I ever repay you?" Martha laughed. "Oh, don't worry about it. It was no trouble at all." But deep down, Martha felt uneasy about leaving the old man behind. When she arrived at the gate, the flight to Paris had just been announced. Martha turned around to check on the old man, but he wasn't there. She started to look for him frantically, but he had disappeared. Martha felt terrible. She searched everywhere for the old man, but it was no use. He was nowhere to be found. Martha tried to calm herself down, telling herself it wasn't her fault. The old man had disappeared before they'd even boarded the plane. Still, she couldn't shake off the feeling that she should have done something more to help him. Martha sat down in her seat and closed her eyes, hoping to catch some sleep before takeoff. But every time she closed her eyes, she saw the old man struggling with his luggage. She opened her eyes again and looked out the window. To her surprise, she saw the old man walking toward the airplane. Martha waved at him, but the man just kept walking. Suddenly, the old man turned around and walked back. Martha didn't understand what he was doing until he took a seat in the same row as her. "I'm sorry I'm late," he said, smiling at her. "There was a bit of a mix-up, but luckily you saved me from having to pay for another ticket." Martha smiled back. "It's all right, I'm glad you made it." The old man leaned closer and whispered to her, "You don't mind if I sit here, do you? No one else is sitting in this row, and there's plenty of room for both of us." Martha nodded, relieved that he understood she wasn't angry about the mix-up. As the flight attendants came to take their orders, Martha couldn't help but notice the old man acting strangely. He kept asking for extra blankets and pillows, and he even asked to speak to the pilot. When the pilot came over, Martha heard the old man say, "We're running out of time. I have to land the plane myself." Martha was shocked. Was the old man planning to take over the cockpit? She looked at him curiously, trying to read his intentions. Was he joking, or was he serious? She couldn't tell. Before Martha could react, the pilot returned to his seat, and the old man went back into his seat and covered his face with a blanket. Martha was confused, but she decided not to make a fuss and just wait until the flight attendants came back to see what the old man wanted. After what felt like hours, the flight attendant returned with a pile of blankets and pillows for the old man. Martha watched as he carefully arranged them in front of him, forming a sort of barrier between them. Then he turned to her and said, "Now we can talk." Martha was still confused, but she decided to play along. "What do you want to talk about?" she asked. "Do you believe in miracles?" the old man asked her suddenly. Martha was taken aback by the question. The old man nodded slowly. "Well, then prepare to be amazed," he said with a twinkle in his eye. At first, Martha didn't understand what he meant. But then the old man did something that made her gasp in surprise. With a flourish, he pulled back the blanket to reveal a brand new airline uniform underneath. "Wow," Martha breathed. "You're a pilot." The old man beamed at her. "That's right, my dear. I must say, You've been a great help to me today. Without your assistance, I might have missed my flight, and who knows what would have happened then." Martha was stunned. She had no idea that the old man was a pilot, and that he had needed her help to get to the airport on time. She felt a surge of pride knowing that she had played a part in ensuring the flight's success. As the plane touched down in Paris, Martha couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. Not only had she helped out a fellow passenger, but she had also been a part of something bigger. An international flight that connected people and cultures. The old man turned to her and said, "You know, Martha, I've been flying planes for over 50 years, and I must say you're the most helpful passenger I've ever had." Martha blushed and said, "Oh, it was no trouble at all. I'm just glad I could help." The old man smiled at her and said, "You have a kind heart, Martha, and I knew the moment I saw you that you were the only person who could help me land this flight." They stepped out of the plane and onto the tarmac. The old man turned to Martha and said, "You know, Martha, I own this airline. I was hoping to fly to Paris and retire, but I was having engine trouble and needed a co-pilot. You were the only passenger who didn't seem to mind helping me, and I knew you were the only one who could help me land this plane." Martha was stunned. She had no idea that the old man was the owner of the airline. She felt a sense of pride knowing that she had helped him achieve his dream. The old man reached out and took Martha's hand. "I want to thank you properly for your help today. How about I give you a job here at the airline?" Martha was shocked. She had never flown a plane before in her life. "But, I don't know," she stammered. The old man smiled at her. "Don't worry, Martha. You don't need any experience to fly for this airline. All you need is a willingness to learn and a kind heart." Martha felt a sense of adventure take over her. She'd always wanted to do something bold, and this was her chance. "Okay," she said. "Should I accept your offer?" As the sun set over Paris, Martha knew that her life was about to change forever. She had found a new career, a new home, and most importantly, a new friend. The old man looked at her and said, "Welcome to the family, Martha. Now let's go celebrate with some wine." They toasted 2 new beginnings, to friendship and to the kindness of strangers. Martha knew that this was just the beginning of her story.